Just F It. Hi, I'm Romi, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFF IT Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an F It moment. So here we go. Just F It.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Good morning.
We are the EFF IT Madres. I'm Romi. This is Carla. And we are two Latinas, two best friends, two girl moms, two podcasters, two life coach, two beauty glam squad women. We lots of similarities and a lot of differences, but we had an EFF IT moment. We created this podcast. What is this podcast, Carla?
So this podcast is about moms supporting moms through these big F It moments. And these F It moments aren't just like careless, I don't give a fuck anymore type things. They're like actual fully loaded, like I need to make a freaking change in my life. F It moments where you decide and that switch goes off that whatever is happening in your life that you need to change, you're like saying F it and you're going to do it, or you're going to work towards changing it. And we started this because we had that moment. We still are in our F It moment. They can take a long time and they can look different for everyone, and there's ups and downs. But the whole point of it is that it's kickstarting you on a new path of whether it's career, relationships, whatever. But the fact that you have a family that depends on you is kind of a big deal to do, like to have these moments as a mom, because you know we've all had them as single people, and it's just easy to kind of like change route without really having to think about anybody else. But when you are doing that with a spouse and children, it's a big deal. And a lot of the times, however this works out, it's for the better anyway, no matter what the outcome, because it's opened you up to new perspectives, new opportunities, a new way of doing things differently, which, you know, if you want different results, you have to do things differently. And so that's what it is.
Yeah, no, that's it. And you know, every week we have a mom pretty much come on, right, and share their journey, their F It moment. And that's been the recipe for us since we started, and we love it and we're proud of it. But we did have a conversation about kind of opening this up to some deeper conversations, a little bit more controversial conversations, still with mothers, still with women, not getting away from that, but different views, different opinions, different conversations. We are living in a time that is wild to be a parent. It is a really hard, and there's a lot going on. So we just want to have conversations that, like, if we're going to be uniting women, we're actually talking to like all kinds of women, right? About all kinds of things. And we're not going to keep it quite as safe because these are the types of conversations we would want to listen to. And so we're willing to start putting ourselves in places where we are hearing all kinds of women and moms, you know, stories and beliefs and points of views and challenges through motherhood. So if you start to hear things a little bit different, that is what we decided to do, is just shake it up a little bit. And you know, the podcast is also going to have F It moments. And I think that's an F It moment for our podcast, which is fuck it. We're going to start having some deeper conversations. Yeah. So today we are actually just going to chat together. Sometimes we do this. And it was a topic that has been relevant in my life recently. I posted a little bit about it on our Instagram feed, and a lot of people responded to it and said, we want to hear more of this. And so that's always good feedback for us. So we figured we'd share a little bit more of it.
Yeah. And so what is it that we're going to be chatting about today, Romi?
Yeah, you know, I posted on our Instagram, the EFF IT Madres, that I was going through some mental health stuff that, you know, how do I say this? So I went through a lot of mental health stages. I've been diagnosed, medicated, and treated on and off since I was 13 years old. And so what a lot of and I know this through coaching other moms who also have been diagnosed or treated like me or deal with things like me. When you're going through all the mental health challenges that I have and you're doing it by yourself, it can be a really selfish space to be in.
Mm,
It can also, you can not get up. You can give up. Like you're literally just letting yourself down. And I think this is a big part of like the effort Madres and why we say it's just different when you're a parent, when you're a mom. So when those seasons creep into me, and they do, and I just got hit really hard with one.
mm,
Um, and in my case, they can go years or months without happening. Um, it is very different as a mother to have to battle like your mental stability and to get up and fight that and still be present for everyone around you, your partner, your job, your kid, your podcast, your coaching clients, when you are in absolute war inside.
mhm,
And so I thought, I'd shared about it a little bit on there and it got a really good response. And a lot of my clients even reached out to me and they were like, we didn't know, we didn't know. And I've been told to put more of that out there. You and I are doing public speaking now with loud management, to talk about these harder conversations. But it is scary to say that out loud as a mom. There
mhm.
is shame around it. And there's a lot of like, yeah, do I want my daughter to like, do I want people to know that that's something I struggle with?
Yeah, but I mean, if you don't let people know, then that keeps you alone. So the
Oh,
more,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, the more that
depression and mental health keeps you alone in general. That's
yeah,
the goal is ultimately you want to be isolated.
hmm, yeah,
You can't when you're a mom.
yeah, for sure. But we also do know, especially after having been like started doing this, is that how important community is to not
Mhm.
just like help you reach your goals, but also to help you like reframe your mindset, see things differently, have the energy from other people around you has an effect on you. So it's a really important thing to have that, even when you're
It's
feeling.
almost life-saving. That's what I say, is it's
Mm,
almost life-saving because you have to go to school, you have to get them to dance, you have to do dinner. Yeah, you don't like I mean, I guess you don't have to. You could be the parent that just says,
yeah.
I'm not being a parent today, but in my case, it forces me out when I'm in it. And so to share a little bit about it is, I was diagnosed at 13 years old as bipolar. And then I was recently told that it was a misdiagnosis over the last few years. I'm in therapy right now.
Mm,
My therapist doesn't believe that that is it. And so it's been an interesting journey for me because I have identified at a very young age as this illness, right? And everything in my younger childhood was almost dismissed as being valid because of the illness,
mm,
right? And so when you're 13 and that becomes your identity,
right. Yeah.
that's what you carry with you, right? You're sick, you're crazy.
Yeah, and everything gets blamed on the
Yes,
sickness. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Don't she's, she's not well. She's crazy. She's just going through this. And what I love, and this isn't for everybody, I'm speaking on my own journey. What I love about my therapist right now, and I'm in EMDR therapy, is that he's really bringing a lot of like more normal feelings that I'm having and struggles that I'm having and emotions that I'm having and actually saying like you're not crazy, right?
Yeah.
And like re-changing it. Um so to wrap it up with that, so I struggled with that. Then I struggled with alcohol, right? In between like self-medication. I was telling you like I was sent away at one point to a camp when I was like a junior. So my parents had the helicopter come in the middle of the night, handcuff me and drop me off in the Montana mountains.
Helicopter?
It was like a private plane, a
Oh.
tiny plane.
Oh, wow.
So they came and found me and they like a lot of kids did this. This is like that, those like you see those like documentaries and they like drop you off
Yeah.
and like scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um And I'm writing my book right now, and I'm like been rewriting those chapters of my life, as like a healing process. But I'm like, this stuff is gnarly,
Yeah.
like gnarly experiences. And this is my childhood, right? Like this is my like, so it's been interesting to go back and heal. And then recently, like I have gone so long without feeling any of that. Um, like since becoming a mom, I've just been in such like, I'm a mom, I'm a fighter, right? Like you just become, like we talk about, a warrior, where it's like that part can't really sink in. And then recently I just hit a low. I hit like a manic, and then I hit a low, and it was eye-opening. And then I can imagine like women who are feeling this way and have children's and families and like jobs, and like where is the time to have a mental breakdown?
Right. Yeah. Why do you think this manic episode or whatever it was, I don't know if that's the right term for it.
Yeah.
What do you think brought that about?
And I think you'll get this because we're in this together. And my therapist recently, because I came to him basically the few weeks ago when this happened, I said, I'm crazy. It's back. I'm fucking crazy. Like, claim me crazy, put me on meds. I'm losing my mind. And he was like, no, bitch, we're not. That's not the way we're going to do this.
Mhm.
And I needed that. I needed somebody to be like, that's almost easy. That's all you've
Right.
known.
Mhm.
It's all you've known, and it's what you've been told since you were a kid, and it's not true. So like we're going to like scratch that, and we're going to look at what's being triggered.
Mhm.
Because, and so when we got into it, and I think you get this, and I think it's important to talk about on here, being a mom and working towards things you love, our podcast, our coaching, all the things that we want and see for ourselves so deeply. And it's hard, and it doesn't happen overnight. And we get let down, and it feels like we are on a hamster, wheel. And your kid is looking at you because they need all the things that they need, right? And you're trying to create this amazing life for them while also creating an amazing life for you still.
Mhm.
And also being a good friend, and also taking care of yourself, and also showing up for your partner. I don't drink anymore because I do best without alcohol. I do best with a clear head and sleep. I have to. It's non-negotiable for me. That is how I need to function, because all of these things will break me.
Mhm.
I completely melted down, Carla, with what am I doing? What do I want? Is this ever going to work? Do I give up? Am I a fucking moron
Mm.
for believing that I could have this dream? And I just went into a complete like depression.
But I'm curious to know what actually triggered that. Like, what was
Yeah.
the impetus to make you be
Well,
like,
a lot of it has to do with, I'm in therapy, and I think a lot of women and single moms and women that are getting back into relationships, which we've talked to on here. Um, I'm with my partner. We're engaged right now. It's a deep relationship. A lot of childhood stuff comes up with like
Mhm.
creating a family, healing from my childhood, triggers that happen from our partners, triggers that happen for what we're doing for our kids. Like, people don't talk about this stuff, but it's not just like, hey, we're parents and now we're moms, and people actually don't talk about enough of how much it triggers your own childhood.
Mhm.
And that shit hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at it, it hurts.
Yeah, if you're actually a conscious parent and you want to
Yeah.
raise your child differently than the way that you were raised, then it 100% you're very aware of like what happens with your kid or how they're reacting, how you
Yes.
react to how they're reacting. So
Yes.
yes, 100% it is like it brings up, I've been told like it brings up a lot of your fucking childhood trauma, and I didn't really understand what that meant until I had a fucking kid.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Oh shit, okay,
Yeah.
yeah."
This is the shit that they don't prep you for. I'm already a super emotional human being. I've already had a super wild card. You know that about me as like a human, right? I've had a very tough wildlife. Like that's not most of us have, right? Like we've heard so many stories, but like, yes, creating a family as a mom who's trying to get it right, who's been through a divorce with her kid, who's trying to like look at what my life looks like, what the job I'm giving, what my partner looks like, I even talked to, my therapist and my partner Jenny about like fears of being gay in Texas, right? Fears of raising my daughter as a queer person in Texas. Like this is real for me. You
Mhm.
know, I grew up with two moms in LA. I also then go to, am I giving my child the childhood that like I had that I'm healing from? And then having to separate that those are two different worlds and realities. And like this is the kind of stuff that I feel like eventually I just broke.
Mhm.
I was just like, this is too much,
Mhm. And
you
so
know?
what helped you get out of that? Are you even out
Well,
of that, or are you still working through
yeah,
it?
I'm slowly out of it. I couldn't get out of bed for like a few days. I just couldn't stop crying.
Mm.
Like my partner saw me like I just couldn't stop crying. I just like it was like this just like heaviness of sadness, and I am actively in therapy, so a lot of stuff comes up, right? And financial scares, like not seeing money come in when, I took a huge effort moment about leaving my corporate job and going into working on all these things that like I believe in and I love. And for those of you who have done that as well, like it's going to be reality shock at sometimes, like it's going to hit you. And so I wanted to feel like I was the crazy 13-year-old girl again. I wanted to tap into like that
Because it was familiar?
because it was familiar.
Mhm.
Because if I'm going to feel low and I'm going to feel depressed, I'm going to be her. And then my therapist had this beautiful way of saying, no, it's actually her that is screaming in you to focus on her and heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what she's doing. She's saying you need to like pay attention to what this feels like and you need to heal this part of you. And so that was really helpful to understand that. But like who's talking about moms that are going through their healing journey and having to heal their inner child at different ages while raising a child? I'm healing my inner girl while raising a girl.
Yes. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's very, very like what helps for me, and it's crazy because you look at your kid and you're like, oh, it's you created this thing, and it's the same but different from you. But yet what helps me is in envisioning my younger, like me as a
Mhm.
little
Yeah.
kid when she's
Yes.
having these moments, and it's just like being able to console that little me in those
Yes.
moments that I needed what I'm trying to provide for her that I didn't get. It definitely is like, oh my god, it's
It,
very healing but also kind of a mind fuck too.
it is, right? Like they say, like, be the kid for your parent that you needed, right? That
Yeah.
there's all those quotes, like, be that
Be the
person. And
parent,
I'm
yeah, be the
trying.
parent for your kid. Yep.
And it's like you said, Carla, for those of us who are actively trying to heal and be better and like really present in this process, which you and I are, we do a lot of reading, we do a lot of podcasts, we study, it's important to us, right? That doesn't mean that it's like a beautiful ride
Yeah.
because we're like enlightened and on some higher, we're doing all it means that sometimes, and I don't think I was prepared for that, it's going to hurt so bad.
Mhm.
And if I feel like I'm failing, and that's how I felt is I'm failing at this. I am failing at being successful in my work. I am failing at being successful in my relationship because it was going through some stuff, right? Like I am not doing the things that I wanted to be for my daughter. The perfect family, the perfect relationship, the perfect job for her to look up to and see me do. If that isn't happening as fast or as beautiful or as smooth as I want, it's like I just fucking felt like I don't know, like
Yeah. But that's a big difference between you and I too, cuz I feel like I'm always the slow and steady.
mhm.
And I know you're very much like, I want to see it, I want to see it, I want to see it. And so I think becoming a mom has helped you in
Oh,
that
yeah.
sense to be like, okay, things are going to take a little bit more time. You've developed more patience, but the
Mhm.
younger you is still there being
She's
like,
still there.
yeah, still there.
Yeah.
Like, I need this to happen right away. But
And that's the mind fuck, is that I'm this present woman who's an adult and a mom, and every now and then that girl sneaks in and she wants to like shake shit up and she
yeah,
wants instant and and I'm sitting here like, I okay, you know. So you asked me what did I do? I'm in therapy. I went to fucking therapy. I had
mm,
him clarify my brain and validate things that were happening, right? So for anyone listening, like get a fucking therapist, find a good one if you need it because it really is like a space for somebody to help you understand when your brain is just going wild. And then I came back to you and I was like, "Okay, I'm back."
mhm,
Like I mean,
yeah,
I wasn't posting on Instagram. I was just down for like a week of like I
yeah,
don't know what to do right now.
yeah, I noticed that. I was like, okay." I was obviously, like, caught up in things, but then I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
this is interesting." Like, I haven't really seen her because 'cause you're so much more active than I am on that. I wanna since we're speaking about mental health, and I don't know if this is pushing the envelope for you to wanna talk about, but I have obviously seen you through different relationships.
Mhm.
And, when we started this, you were in a relationship that was not good. Like, was not good. And
Yes.
I was very worried for you.
Yeah.
Um, you have said several times that you want to talk about it, but you're not ready. Do
You
you think
know,
you're there?
no. So I'm writing my story out. I mean, my book, my life story, right? And that's going to be a chapter in it. And yes, for those of you listening, when we started this podcast, I was in something really unhealthy. Um, yeah. And so many people don't know any of that, right? Any of that chapter of my life. And eventually I will open up and talk about it. I'm even that chapter, Carla, of my life of an unhealthy, toxic relationship, probably something that saved my life.
Mm,
Honestly, it saved my life. It got me into therapy. It got me here. It got me fighting and it got me into doing work of like, how did I get here?
mhm,
How did it get this bad? How did I get this? How did I get here? And so sometimes those relationships will save. I credit it to like literally changing my life. I survived it, but it changed my life.
mhm,
And it got me, you've seen, it got me doing sobriety. It got me listening to podcasts. It got me doing workouts. It got me into like actually caring about how to get better
mhm.
because it was so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've had moms on here talk about these kinds of things and one day I will talk about it, but that is a lot of what I'm still healing from.
Mhm,
It has not gone away. And I had done a scan for my medical thing like a year ago, just health wise. And she was like, "You've got like some PTSD in your brain scan." And I was like, "I'm not surprised." Like, that does not surprise me. And she had asked, "What are you doing for that?" And I said, I'm in EMDR therapy. And she was like, "Okay, good."
mm.
So things, th- again, and I'm glad you said that in this way. And one day we'll talk about it. But when you think you know someone's life, or you
Yeah,
see a mom on Instagram, or you see me show up, or you see what it looks like, it's a really good reminder that you have no idea what somebody is going through.
yeah.
You have no idea.
Mhm,
No idea.
mhm.
And you've seen me still show up consistently despite.
Yes, I'll admit it was a big worry. It was a big
Yeah.
worry when we started. You know me, I'm a very cautious person. And so
Mhm.
it was a good learning lesson for me too, because I'll admit and you know, you when you live your life a certain way, and it's like there's not really like a lot of ups or downs for you. It's like, okay, this is how you live life. But when
Yeah.
someone has other things going on and it doesn't align with the way you live, you'll be like, I don't know if that's right, that doesn't look right to me, blah blah blah. But what I've come to learn being your friend is like, people live their lives the way that they need to live their life. And I've become so much more open learning that with you, because it's like,
Mhm.
you do your things, you do what makes you happy in the moment, And that's the way you live your life, and it has no effect on anybody else. So it's really opened my eyes, because I'll admit I was a lot more closed off about that before we started doing this. I was like, well, I don't know. These people do things this way. I do it this way. This must be wrong. This must be right. And it's not that at all. That's been a big takeaway doing this with you.
And I think you've also heard different moms on our podcast. If you go
Sure.
back and listen to some of the women that we respect and love that have shared their stories, they've been where I am, you
Yes.
know? And I
Yes.
think it's a good reminder too, and I'm glad you said that, because if you see a mom and you go, "No, nope, nope, nope." Like, I also want to say this, and this has to go with getting yourself in situations like that. And the moms on our podcast have shared that. You can say all day long, "I'm never gonna be that person."
Yeah.
All day long, "I am never how could she? How da 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 da," and I did.
Mhm.
"I'm a strong, independent fucking woman," has been my whole message, right? There is no way that I am ever gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not who I identify as, and then my ass was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when women have said that, like, I would never be in that situation." I get it.
Mhm.
But then that's when empathy comes in, right?
Yes.
And that's where empathy needs to be in place for something that you don't understand.
Totally, and that's what it taught me. Like, when I've
Mhm,
talked about the messiness of effort moments, when
mhm.
you learn and see things about yourself, that was a part of myself that I was
Yeah,
not happy with. I was, like,
yeah,
very displeased to see that my mind would go there, and I was like, "This needs to fucking change." I can't, like, I have to let people, if I want people to respect the way I do things, I have to be open to that too, and I didn't even realize how stuck I was on that, like, sort of mindset on that,
yeah.
or perspective, until we started doing this together. And I started, you and I started connecting more, and I started seeing more of your life, and also
Mhm.
other lives of moms coming on here. So that was like, I was very disappointed in myself. And so there was like a depression that came out of that. But it
Yeah.
presented something to me that I needed to see.
Well, it's kind of a blessing, I think about it, because the journey I've been on that everyone has seen in terms of, like, my coaching and therapy and my sobriety over, like, the last 2 years really did come from us starting this podcast and me getting out of something really hard.
Mhm. Yeah, this has been
This has
life-changing.
been
Yeah, it has been life-changing
yeah.
for sure.
And I think because we check in with women every week and we check in with these stories every week, it keeps me inspired. It's kept me, if I'm going to coach someone else, what am I doing for myself? It holds me accountable. It makes me not feel alone. It's been really nice to hear other moms come on here and talk about, there's what situations they've been in. Look at Erin, who we had on, in that situation she was in. Look at
Yeah.
Ariel, who's this queen, right? Be in that situation. And Allison, the yoga teacher who went through, like, we're not alone. And I think we are so afraid to share these places we've been because other moms are
Yeah.
going to judge us.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to
100%.
judge us because they're keeping their shit tight and quiet and clean, and everything looks messy.
Mhm.
But it is messy.
Yeah, it is. It is really
It
messy.
is.
Mhm.
And so, yes, the last few years has been a mental battle and fight for me, and I'm really proud of myself. Um, I haven't given up, right? Like, I've had some falls, you've had some falls where you're like, "I'm not there," and we're
Yeah.
like, "Keep going." Like, I did get myself into a really beautiful, healthy relationship, and that's where I said to you, and I'm just being completely honest, and I think a lot of women and moms will go through this. If you come from a lot of toxic parenting and relationships, when you find somebody that isn't toxic, no one talks about how fucking hard that is.
Oh, yeah, because you're used to the up and down. Yeah,
She's
like,
not gonna give it to me.
yeah, right, right. It's funny, my therapist years ago told me, because I was in a relationship where I was like, I don't there's not really a lot happening. And she's like, "Yeah, that's a healthy relationship." Like, because I was used to, like, the high and low
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. And so I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh shit, okay, like, this is actually good." And it's more peaceful.
So when I had that breakdown, when you triggered it too, and I said, it has a lot to do with my life right now and my healing life, things are really good, Carla. Yes, things are moving slow. Things are not moving as fast as maybe any of us want them, but nothing good comes out of it being fast. Things are going okay. I'm doing the work, right? The relationship is healthy, right? That little girl in me who I lived in and lived with wanted to fucking destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Destroy
Chaos is familiar.
chaos. She was just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? We're going to just create a fucking shit show because things are just too
Normal.
normal.
Or calm, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's like my brain just went like,
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
that's when I had to go into like therapy and talk to my partner. And then, I'm a mom and I'm like, oh my God, I could have just fucked up my whole life.
Mhm.
Or I can figure out
A new way.
of and my therapist was so good about like, okay, when you feel you need to create chaos or you need that like wild Romy to come out because now it's a very different reality for you, let's figure out how to have her come out that isn't destroying her life and relationship, which is all I've ever known to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I want my partner to fight me and my partner doesn't want to fight me and she's like, you're fucking crazy, like I'm not fighting you, and I'm like, the fuck you aren't, like that I'm not going to get that. So like people don't talk. That's why we're talking about it. If you're a mom who understands this or relates to this, I hope one person can connect to this. If you grew up with a really toxic childhood and very unhealed parents, which I love my mother to death, and rest in peace my father, but that shit was wild.
Mhm. Mhm.
How the fuck would I know how to do this?
Right. And also, I remember when we spoke with, remember Jenny B Spiritual?
Yeah,
She brought up something that I didn't even think about, which is we all come from a certain upbringing. And then we come into a relationship with someone that has a lot of the times
different.
has a totally different upbringing.
Yes.
And we're all like expected to just like, that's why relationships are so fucking hard because we
Yes.
have this wiring in each of us when we grew
Yes.
up, and now we have
Yes.
to try to make it work together. And it wasn't until she said it the way she said that I was like, holy shit, that is so true. Like we're each bringing in, and it's like, you'd assume that, but like it wasn't until she said that I was like, man, yeah, that is so right. Like,
Well, okay, that is so right, and that is exactly what me and my partner are dealing with. Is she's in therapy on her own with her own childhood stuff, right? Which she is an avoidant who goes inward, more like more closed, more you,
yeah,
more of she's not. She's no, no,
yeah,
no, no drama, no chaos, no, no. I can't have
yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
And I'm like fighter
yeah,
from my childhood. So you bring us together, and it's like, well, we don't know what to do with this, right? But then, and you understand this, then you bring in the challenge of like the relationship and your both individual traumas, and then you're both trying to like make a household and like have a kid at home.
yeah. It's very, very difficult.
And at some points, I know I'm not alone in this. I
Yeah.
have friends, you just break down sometimes. I have friends that say they were like crying in their closet or screamed at everyone for like, and they're losing their fucking minds.
Yeah. But it's also goes the other way too, because for example, my husband and I are the same. Like we
Yeah.
are both avoidant. That's
Yeah. You
very
guys are the
difficult.
same.
That's very difficult too, because it's like then we run away from each other, and we
Yeah.
don't. Like, isn't one person that will come and try to coax the other person to talk. We both run away from each other. So it's like really understanding a way of communicating
Yeah.
how we feel between us to make things work, because it's hard to also be very similar as well. So it's just you just have to really
Well,
fucking
and
work.
then on top of that, here's the mental fuck. Like on top of you guys doing it, because we are so attuned to how we've been affected from our parents and our childhood and how it's impacted us in our lives, as we're doing it or failing, we know our kids are being fully impacted by this.
Yes, yes.
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I know. I know.
everything I fucking do is going to impact this child.
I know. I know. That's what we always say. Like, we're trying our best. We know that our kid's going to end up being like fucked up somehow, but like, we are being mindful of it. Like, we are trying. Like, I don't even, at least for my parent or my,
Yeah.
my mom, like, she didn't I don't even think she stopped to even think about what it was
No.
that she was doing because it was just, "This is just how you do it," but that's
Yeah.
not how we think. That was not how you do it.
Well, my therapist said, and I think it was a good thing for me, and this is what helped me at the end because, like I said, I have all these fears around, how I'm raising her, what's going to affect us. Am I going to fuck her up here? Is this part of her going to fuck up? If she sees me on the L word one day, have I complete, you know what I mean? Like all this pressure. And he was just like, go home and have conversations with her that need to be had before she feels it and sees it in the world because it's way less traumatic, Romy, if you are talking to her at home than her finding out the realities of this harsh world when she leaves your home because you are trying to protect her.
Yeah, that's true. That's great
And
advice.
I was like, you're fucking right. Like,
Mhm.
go home and make it real and be honest with her and vulnerable with her and have those hard conversations that you're avoiding as she gets age appropriate, obviously, so that when she goes out into the world, she's not thrown off about mental health or sexuality or, things that like we struggle with, right? Like just being more honest with our kids
Mhm.
about what these journey is like and owning when we fail and when we fall and making it okay because
Yeah.
so many of us moms don't tell ourselves it's okay to break down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're speaking to one.
like
I still have a hard time with that. Yeah.
I will say in the last month I had a full blown almost 2-week breakdown.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just broke. I broke.
Yeah.
And I'm okay and I'm back and I feel good and you start to feel like yourself again. It starts to slowly come back and you're like, "Oh, okay. There she is." Like I feel, like me again. But in those 2 weeks that I was struggling, like I was challenging everything around me. I was
Mhm.
trying to quit this, I was trying to quit her. I was trying to just my story went into no, you are somebody who will struggle for the rest of your life. You will never be loved and you will always be poor. And
Yeah.
I almost wanted to like ruin my whole life to create that story to be real.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was listening to that video that you posted, and even it was, this is how much you have grown from when we started this. The fact that you can recognize that you are you are used to creating chaos. That's why, like, this is very unfamiliar feeling to you right now, and that's why you're like,
Complete.
what the fuck? Like, the fact that you're even able to say that and recognize that, like, when I heard you say that, I was like, she's really come a long way. Like, she's really
Yes.
been able to see the trend, the stuff that she's been going through, and work towards, kind of going against it, or like,
You know, yeah, it doesn't make it easier knowing it. It
for
just
sure.
helps you understand it and it
Yeah.
helps me like you were saying, that part of me is going to want to come up and creep in. It's like retraining myself and re-challenging myself, and how to like cuz I don't want to be that person anymore, but I'm telling you, Carla, if I would not have gotten into therapy when that relationship happened,
Yeah.
2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I would not have started to like seek actual help, I don't know where the fuck I would have been.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is, as horrible as it was, there was a silver lining in
It
that
was
relationship.
and I know I've read and heard a lot of people too that have been through stuff like that, and I can understand it. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I know that sounds awful to say like that, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
If I can take the beauty and we got out of it, it was good. It put me in a space that I really needed to like figure out what part of me was still acting out to heal parts of me from like my younger self, right?
Yeah.
And how do I do this for me and my daughter?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that right there is such a sign of growth, to be able to, like, stop looking at all the stuff happening outside of you and actually take a look in the mirror and be like, what am I doing that
Oh
is
yeah, I didn't
bringing this?
leave that situation, Carla, going I'm a victim. I didn't leave going
Yeah.
poor
But
me
so
and
many so many
they
people do,
do.
and they end up getting back into these situations because they don't think it's themselves. They think it's,
It's
but
not.
they're
And I'm gonna
attracting
say
that.
this, like, it's not. Like, that's why I listen to, like, Goggins and I need that type of voice because I could easily play victim to these things in my life. And I could easily play weak victim and these things happen to me. And I'm gonna say that, and that's where I am proud of myself. When that happened, it's not this person, it's not this situation. It's why the fuck are you okay being here? What the fuck happened to you in your life
Yeah.
that this is what you're okay with?
Mhm. Yeah.
That was the thing I needed to figure out was why am I okay with life being like this?
Mhm.
And once I got into that work, everything has, I mean, my life has changed drastically in 2 years.
It really has. Yeah. It really, really has.
Yeah. And these episodes may happen again and I'm prepared for them, but I have the skills and the tools and I do the work to get through them in a healthy way where I do not destroy my life anymore. You
Mhm.
know, where
Mhm.
I don't catastrophically, you know what I mean, like blow up everything in a heat of a moment feeling,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is historically how I'm wired.
Mhm. Yeah.
Burn the house down. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely been it's been I've really been proud of you to see that because, like I said, I when we started this, I had my concerns. I had my worries cuz I think a certain way and I do things a
mhm,
certain way. So, I was worried that seeing that chaos would come into this between you and
mhm,
I was so worried about our friendship and how it
mhm.
would affect our friendship because I know I don't I couldn't function that way. But again, like you really pulled through and you always said like it's never going to affect. And for a while there I didn't know if that was true, but honestly, like you really really have changed and also it has never fucking affected this. Like you
The thing I'll say about my life is I've been functioning, and I know because you and I are so different, I've been functioning on that level of stress and trauma, whether it be that partner or the partner before or the parents before, since I was born. I only know how to function and show up and work. I've had jobs my whole life. You've seen me.
yeah.
I've showed up to everything I've ever done with something incredibly traumatic going on in my life.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew I could tell you this is not going to affect us because this
Mhm.
is not my first rodeo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was a good lesson for me. It was a good
Yeah.
lesson for me to be like, "Okay, I see this, so that must mean this." And it wasn't. It wasn't. So it really opened me up to being like, okay, like you got
And
it.
here we are,
Yeah,
what,
and
how year and a half into a podcast that we've
yeah.
been not only consistent with, but we're
Mhm.
growing. It's
Yeah.
taking on to new areas. It's developing, it's evolving. And, I do credit this
Mhm. To
to my
being
growth.
yeah,
I
I
do.
it absolutely, absolutely has done
Yeah.
that for you. It's done it for me in different ways. Absolutely it has. That's
Yeah.
why we stress the importance of people taking that first step because it really if you're prepared to get uncomfortable, you fucking will. Like you really fucking will. But the end of the day, it is so much for the better for
Yes.
yourself and for everyone
Yes.
around you
Yes.
to just do that thing that really scares you because you learn so much and you grow
So
so
much. And
much.
I have clients right now that are afraid to do therapy because they're afraid to feel the pain. It's
Yeah.
like unlocking that box and they're like, I don't want to walk around with that. And I'm gonna tell you, it's painful and like you said, it's uncomfortable, but it's gonna come out in your life whether you want it or not. You might as well look it in the eye and fucking handle it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it is seeping through you in different aspects of your life and it is
Totally.
affecting your partner, yourself, and your child.
Yeah, or if even just to like understand yourself better. Like if it helps you understand why you've done the things you've done, why you might continue to do the things that you do, and if you really don't want to, you're able to see, like you're able to step outside of yourself and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, this is like what the old Carla and
Well,
the
like
reasons why she did
yeah,
that."
now I can like when I'm looking at Jenny and everything's like really peaceful for a while and everything's great and I look at her and I'm like, it's Fight Club time. I know that this is just me needing chaos because
Yeah.
it's, and now my partner, because I'm in therapy and she knows that she's like, okay, here she is. Like, we need to take her out, ride a motorcycle or something to get this out of her like system
Yeah.
because she's feeling like she needs to like,
Get
this is
taken
why I
out. Yeah.
box every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, but now that I know and I'm more aware of it, it's easier for us to work through. Had
Mhm.
I not taken the time to work through that and understand myself, I probably would have just, this is boring.
Yeah.
I want to ruin my life.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. And I think it's important to have these conversations. And the more I open up and get honest with them, I'll talk more about those experiences. But I think mental health in general, not as a crazy person, not as a diagnosed, not being labeled, is just important to talk about in motherhood.
Yeah. Yeah, and that every single one of us has something for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that you're not alone. It's not easy.
No.
If you're doing the work and you're trying, this is not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And like it's especially not because especially now with social media and all of that, we feel like we should be doing a fucking
All
gazillion things at once, and if we're not, that we're failing, and it's just fucked.
Yeah.
It definitely gets your mind racing in ways that it shouldn't, and so know that.
It's a comparison that's so unhealthy. So it's like
Yeah,
I hope you, yeah. I hope you tune in. I hope you listen to the interviews that we do, the conversations that we have, our personal journeys, and I hope you just realize like whatever you're seeing, yeah, on your feed, you know, this is the real stuff. That's what we want to share. Like this is the real stuff of like motherhood. And that's why when we started the podcast, I know we're coming to an end. We both were like, we're not going to share breastfeeding tips. We're not going to talk about, how to make your food. Cause originally we were trying to like, how do we talk about conversations with moms? And like, are we going to have this mom podcast where we're like, here's your nipple shield and here's how much you pump? And we both were like, nope,
no, yeah,
no.
no,
We're going to talk about these moments as moms because we are both in them
yeah,
as moms. And
yeah,
so these are the type of conversations we want to have more of. Um, and if anyone is listening and you have some vulnerable, open conversation that you feel like would be important to share, or it's your journey or your story or your message that you feel could help another mom, please reach out to us
yeah.
and present that and share it with us.
Yeah, because we're bonded no matter what. That's what's been very eye-opening for me becoming a mom is that I've become so much more women-centered, and I wasn't before. I was very much like on the masculine, and now I'm like, I need women. I need
Hmm.
women. Like we are
Hmm.
powerful. We know what we're going through, whether it looks slightly different for each one of us. Yes, but like we can empathize
Hmm.
way better now as mothers than we could beforehand, at least for me.
Oh yeah.
So,
It's a selfless journey. Whether you fucking want it to be or not, it is a selfless journey. You're fucking taking care of another life. It is
yeah.
not about you anymore. And so I think it does open up to having that empathy for like other mothers. You see each other differently. We are connected.
Yeah. But it isn't about you anymore in the sense that yes, you have
Yeah.
another kid, but you definitely have to bring it back at least sometimes to you cuz otherwise you'll fucking lose your mind.
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely don't lose yourself in it. It's not, but I just mean like I was the most selfish person. And even when I think about what you said, like that empowerment, that woman, female badass that I thought I was, right? It was more self-focused on myself than actually being for other women.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it changes.
Yep. All right. Well,
Right.
we wanted to check in. We want to, because Romy did have that whole thing happen. And we thought, I think this is an important conversation because there might be so many, I'm sure there are so many other women that have to deal with these things, but maybe they feel like they're alone in it. You're not. We
Or
all
you
have,
feel crazy and
yeah,
you're
or you
not
feel
crazy.
yeah, we all have different levels of this same thing and different ways of approaching it and like it's good to hear these
Mhm.
stories so that you don't feel so isolated. Now we're going to end it and this is where we're going to say just F it.
Just F it. Also, before we end this, because we normally shout out our guest, please everybody go subscribe. Go to YouTube, the F It Madres, and subscribe. Like this episode. Leave a comment on what you felt about this episode or any of our episodes. Go to our Instagram, the F It Madres, and please follow us and check out our website, the F It Madres.
Yeah.
Carla has blogs every week about these conversations that are going up. We have merch on there. If you would like to book us for any public speaking or events or collaborations, whatever it may be, we are with Loud Management, and all of this is on our website.
Yeah. And the only way that we can grow is if people share and, just help get this word out that we're creating this community for moms. So we would greatly appreciate it.
That's it.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your week.